on 1350 ESPN.
We are live here on Wickett's World, and you can only see JD on the screen right now because for whatever reason, my video camera won't load. And what a great time to have technical problems than on the very first attempt that you and I are doing at doing this particular style of broadcast, JD. So how are you, my friend?
I'm doing fine. If you would like, you could talk, and I could mouth the words for you. How does that sound?
I don't think that's my best plan.
That's not your intention. That'd be pretty bad.
No, that's not my my number one goal here. My goal is to join you and actually be part of the broadcast.
There he is. I see you.
So you can see me.
I see you.
But the world cannot see me because of this program that I have used. Ah, my gosh, the wonders of technology. And I hate when broadcasters have technical problems and are like, oh, the problems, wonders of technology. What do you know? That's just where we're at right now. And I'm doing what I can on the fly to try to fix this quick little ditty of a problem that we've got going on here, JD. And I had everything special and pretty and ready to go. And now, if you're watching us, this is a jank. I got to tell you, I am upset with the janky version that I had this looking ready. It was gonna be real pretty, JD. You and I were gonna have snazzy graphics and stuff was gonna be flying all over the screen. But I'm not gonna lie. Literally, if you were listening like 30 seconds before we went on the air, you may have heard something go out over the air that wasn't supposed to go out over the air, and I apologize.
That's social media. It's okay. It's not like the regular FCC thing when we're live on the radio itself. So I don't need a dump button here.
My internet went out 1 minute before the broadcast. 1 minute. Like, I have been, because we knew, see, if you're listening to 1350, Drake Basketball Women's Hoops is on the air right now. And, we take a back seat to that. And so all week I have been trying to learn this new program. All week, JD, I have been trying to get things going in the right direction, get things ready. And about 1 o'clock this afternoon, I was like, I'm ready. I am set. I have this program down. It's called OBS. It's fancy. It makes us look super professional. And then 3:57. I'm sitting here, I'm like, why did I just lose JD? I had him on Zoom. Why did I just lose my connection to the Facebook page to stream this out on the ESPN Des Moines Facebook page? Why did I lose everything? Do you know why I lost everything? Because the internet went out all over the whole house.
You want to see Mike lose his mind? This is probably the most you're ever going to see. And it's very impressive, I might add. I would have lost my mind too. I was losing my mind because I was talking to you. We're in the middle of a conversation. And I was going to tell you the big news. Remember when we talked about the goal of Facebook friends and how many people we wanted to try and get by, what was it, Memorial Day?
Yeah.
Okay. You wanted to get 1,000, right?
I have a bet with the boss that I can get to 1,000 likes on the Facebook page.
You're going to win this. And you want to know why?
Why is that?
We have 996 Facebook likes
on our Facebook
page right now. 4 more, and Mike gets his beer.
I don't know. Am I allowed to drink a beer right now?
I don't see why not.
Is that allowed?
Just say it's a sponsor or something.
Well, if Miller's watching,
He might get a logo in here. You know the boss much better than I do. You might want to ask them and see what she thinks. And
look, fancy graphics just popped up that they were supposed to be for a different setup. Oh, I just want to strangle someone. Very first Facebook broadcast. And what we have found out is there could be a few more of these in our future.
Yes.
Because we are an affiliate here on 1350. We are Des Moines Chicago Cubs affiliate. And you and I are going to lose out. Like, Wickett's World will not be on a bunch in the summer because the Cubs schedule, shockingly, every Friday home game is a 1:20 start for the Chicago Cubs, which means our show is going to get blown out. So we either have to do shows like this and go opposite the Cubs and do a stream thing, or maybe we just push the show back to 5 o'clock in the summer. But that is a long way down the path. How are you, by the way, JD?
I'm doing real well. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to get you on task, because you know what's great about today, though. Okay.
What's that?
Throwing all of the technical crap out right now.
Yeah.
All right. Throw it out the window.
Okay. So I'm trying to breathe, to get that out of there.
We have no commercials to worry about right now.
No, not yet.
We can talk about everything on our agenda for once.
That is true.
We want to talk about.
We also don't have a time frame. Like, we can go as long as we want to. I mean, my wife came home early and is watching the babies, so I can't.
Just so you know, she's watching you too, because she just popped up on the live feed.
Oh, what did she say? Anything good?
She says what you're saying is going over the air.
Okay, yeah. I know. I'm aware. Yeah. I'm aware now. Remember, your mic is always hot. That's broadcast rule number 1. Your microphone is always hot. I don't think I said anything terribly disparaging.
No. I think you said exactly what probably everyone watching right now would say. Let's just put it that way.
I hope I didn't swear. Yeah, we'll find out.
I don't know. There's a lot of people who'd swear.
Yeah. But you're right. We can get to a ton. And if you're listening to us or you're watching us, I guess, on the Facebook page, thank you for it. We appreciate it. Make sure you like ESPN Des Moines on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at ESPN DSM. This is really neat. Again, this was supposed to be a little fancier, but we had some technical problems right at the very beginning. So this is the best we can do as of right now. That being said, the stuff we really want to get to, we definitely need to get to.
Yeah. What's great about this is we're going to start off with Iowa. And I think Iowa men's basketball shut my friend Mike Wickett up.
You know
with
what?
Their performance last night.
I think you're right about that.
Yeah.
I think you're 100% right about that. And I think, going into the last week for the Iowa Hawkeye basketball team, they had lost 4 out of 5 and really didn't have a big win on their resume. They're a good team. Like, you don't look at Iowa and say it's a bad basketball team, but you look at Iowa and you say, you had to wonder going into Rutgers, Sparty, and then Wisconsin last night. The way I looked at Iowa was, are they a team that is in the lower echelon of the lower part of the top tier of the Big Ten? Are they the best of that second tier? Are they middle of that second tier? Because, JD, they didn't beat anybody. And then they lost 4 out of 5, and they were losing close games, and they were all kind of the same way. They had a lead evaporated. The other team was able to get a run on them late, and Iowa lost. That was kind of the formula. It was quite formulaic for the Hawkeyes. Then they go and beat Rutgers at home. Okay. Rutgers is Rutgers. Normally not really much of a player in the Big Ten, but they were 25th in the nation. Rutgers is what they are. And that's a good win. You take a Big Ten win when you can get it. This conference is ridiculous.
Right.
And then they go to Michigan State, and Sparty stinks. Like, normally, if I said to you that Iowa or anybody, pick any team in the country, is going to go to the Breslin Center in East Lansing and beat Michigan State, normally you're like, that's a good win. That's a really good win.
It is. Yeah. No, I know where you're going with this. I get
Sparty
it.
sucks. All right. Michigan
they're not what
State
they were. Yeah, they're not what they
sucks.
were.
It's so weird to see a Michigan State team struggle the way that they do. They have no good point guard play. They don't have any. All they want to do is shoot from 3, which is the style of every level of basketball these days. But Michigan State's no good. Like, they're not going to the NCAA tournament. So a win that Iowa fan would normally be able to say, hey, we went to Michigan State. And Luka Garza has struggled against Michigan State a lot in his career. He admitted it before going into that one, how big of a game this was for him. And they go and they pump. I think they won by 30. And offensively, man, when Iowa is on, when they got the big man down low, and they've got Wieskamp and Bohannon and company stretching you outside, and they're hitting their shots, and Wieskamp is the Big Ten Player of the Week. That team can score points. It's the defensive end. And they played against a Michigan State team that can't score. So it's not like it's a Wisconsin team from the past that would slow you down and wants to beat you 54-52. Michigan State can't score.
No,
so
they can't do that, yeah.
That's not an impressive win to me as it normally would be. And I know Iowa fans saying, well, you're just being negative.
A win's a win. Come on, Mike. A win's a win.
Especially in the Big Ten. Big Ten's so good.
Big
Ten is so good.
So then you go on the road and you got to play the Badgers. You're going to the Kohl Center. Now, the Kohl Center is not the Kohl Center without all the fans. All right?
No.
It doesn't, but it doesn't matter. There's still a presence.
None of these Big Ten buildings are the same. You know, the Izzone isn't the same without the fans. And going to Carver Hawkeye is not the same without fans. Going to Illinois or whatever. But I don't think there's a better home court advantage in the Big Ten than Wisconsin. And you're 100% right. Without the Grateful Red, without those fans right on top of you, it's a lot different. Like, I've been in that place when it's dead silent because they lost or a big shot was hit. I've been at the Kohl Center when the fans are going absolutely ape you know what.
Yeah. And
that's a really, really tough place to play in normal circumstances. But no excuse. On the road at Wisconsin, that was, in my mind, that game said a little bit more about Iowa than Wisconsin.
Yes.
But it also said a lot about Wisconsin, who just came off a loss, kind of a measuring stick. They had a big lead. They had a double-digit lead against Michigan at home 4 days prior or whatever, and then to let that game slip away, and that just tells you how good Michigan is. First game back after like a 3-week layoff because of COVID. We'll talk about them in a second. But Iowa went on the road and beat a good, I would think, angry Badger team, a Badger team that wanted to show that maybe they can hang with Michigan, but let's beat the next big boy. And when they made their run, when Wisconsin made their run there in the second half, I thought, all right, here we go. All right, Wisconsin's going to – nope. And then Iowa stretched it out and hit bucket after bucket after bucket. And that's the Iowa offense that could carry this team to a Sweet 16.
I was very impressed with how Luke Garza and company answered back, because I was thinking the same thing you were in the second half. Defensively, they locked them down, which
never happens.
Awesome. Yeah, does not happen. No. But, I mean, here's a little impressive. This is a little impressive to me, all right? Beyond the arc, 3 points, close to 65% shooting. They were 12 of 19, the Hawks were. You also know that you got to get your points at the line when they're given to you, okay? Almost 70% from the free throw line last night.
Huge.
Okay?
Huge.
So, like we had said, huge. We were hitting their shots. I mean, I guess if I was to look for a negative, I don't know what the average turnover rate is for the Hawks. I mean, we kind of talked about this prior to it, but I would say they had 11 turnovers last night. But seriously, I really had a tough time trying to pick any negative.
I mean,
they played very solid. They answered the call when they had to. So go Hawks, man. I mean, if this is the team that shows up, Mike, in the tournament, they could go a long way.
Now, hang on. Again, this isn't one of the big boys they did this to. I know they were a dog. They were a 2-point underdog. You and I discovered that yesterday. I thought Wisconsin was going to be the underdog in this. They were the favorite. Iowa has now beaten number 25 in Rutgers, unranked Michigan State, and then they beat number 21 Wisconsin on the road. Maybe their best win of the year is the Wisconsin win.
I think so.
I'd have to look. I could scan through and whatever, because they haven't met every other challenge. They finally met a challenge. Do you know what they have coming up in the span of 7 days?
Yeah.
Yeah. They've got Penn State Sunday, which is, they should roll Penn State, but Penn State for years has played spoiler to a lot of good Big Ten teams late in the year. After that, it's number 4 Ohio State in Columbus, and it's number 3 Michigan in Ann Arbor in the same week. If Iowa can get either of those games, I will believe this is a team that not only can get to a Sweet 16, should get to a Sweet 16. Lose both, maybe they're that 4th best team in the Big Ten behind Michigan, Ohio State, Illinois, and Iowa. Split with the Buckeyes and Wolverines, then you might be talking about a team that I will have to put some respect on their name, like you called me out right out of the gate.
I did. And I'm still calling you out. That's probably the most complete game I have seen the Hawks play all season.
Well, the thing was, they shot 60% from three, and Garza hit from all over. Yeah. I think it was Wieskamp said after the game, what was Garza's mentality going in? And he said, kill everybody. Because he sucked against Michigan State. He scored 8 points.
He's got like Superman vibes in those eyebrows of his. That's why they're so thick.
He has.
You don't cut Samson's hair, you know?
That is the eyebrows of a Bond villain. Like that dude is a monster. And putting 30 on national TV too.
That's awesome.
I mean, he hit 4 or 5 threes in that game last night.
Yeah, and he was the one who answered. He was the one who answered Wisconsin on every. I believe it was all of him, right? He had all of them. I'm trying to go back on my memory here. Mm-hmm. He was the one who hit all those shots to kind of end Wisconsin's attempt to make a run.
Well,
and that to me was big time. And I remember going back to the first time you and I were on the air. You said, "Why aren't they getting the ball to Garza, their best player?"
Right.
Well, last night
in crunch time, when you need a bucket, when Wisconsin makes a run, when Ohio State's hitting everything, when Illinois in the loss they had a couple of weeks ago on a Friday night. Garza didn't get the ball in the final 5 minutes in some of these games, and it's like, you have the player of the year, hands down. He stamped it last night. Like, there's nobody that's going to win this award besides Luka Garza.
Yeah.
And he goes 5 minutes without scoring in some of these games, 5 minutes without a shot attempt from inside 10 feet. A lot of times it's pass the ball around the key, Garza desperation 3 as the shot clock's expiring, and you're like, okay, that's not his game. That's not. I mean, he can shoot 3, as mentioned, hit a bunch last night. But when you need a bucket, that's the guy to go to.
Yes, it is.
And these next 3, and Nick on the Facebook page, and keep the comments coming in. We can't take calls while we do this kind of a show, so we love your comments. But Nick writes on the Facebook page, on the ESPN Des Moines Facebook page, they better not overlook Penn State as they prep for OSU and Michigan. You're spot on.
Oh, definitely.
You are spot on, Nick, because Penn State, like I said, Penn State can give teams scares, and they have forever. They gave Ohio State a scare recently. Penn State can give teams scares all the time, and if Iowa is looking ahead to the rest of their week because everybody else is, like, if you're Iowa fan, you're like, Penn State, let's go against Michigan and Ohio State. That's the measuring stick game. Do they belong? Can Fran McCaffrey get that team to win either of those 2 road games? Because both of those road games are ridiculously hard. Who has a tougher 3-game stretch in college basketball to end the regular season before the conference tournament than Iowa? Nobody. Nobody has harder than Ohio State, Michigan the rest of the way out.
Well, I will tell you this. After what I saw last night, I think they're primed. They punched the primer, that primer button, and I think Vitale is all Luka Garza right now. He was all about it.
Oh yeah, that guy. Oh, absolutely. Hey, I do want to do a quick shout out before we switch over to Drake here in a second. My dad's watching, and it is his birthday today. So happy birthday to my dad. I will call you later, Dad. You'll get to see all the babies, all 3 of them.
By the way, what did you get him for his gift? He says, thanks for the cool gift. Or is that just a joke to remind you that it's his birthday today?
I don't know. I know what we got him. I don't want to say it in case he's watching and hasn't gotten it. Maybe he thinks this is his gift. Maybe watching his son, his 39-year-old son, get back on the radio talking basketball is the gift my dad always wanted for his 74th birthday. What do you think?
Now, I agree. I think that's a great gift for Dad. Absolutely. And then maybe a bowl of ice cream with chocolate.
He likes chocolate.
He does like chocolate? That's good.
He'd be a boring ice cream guy. Like, he's the kind of guy that's like, what do you want? Scoop of chocolate, please. And that's it. That's all he'll order. That's it. So happy birthday to my dad, Terry.
I was kind of reading some of his comments as well that you were. Kyle Reimers, he listens to us over in the Quad Cities.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah, Kyle said that we're exactly right. You got to take it one game at a time. You can't look ahead. Ask Adam after they lost to Northwestern State.
Adam Halaska.
Yeah.
Listen, let me tell you a little story about that real quick. I don't think I've ever told this story on the radio before. So that year, had to be about 2008, something
like
along those
that.
lines.
Yeah.
Iowa was a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. And I was working for a radio. No, this had to be pre-2007 because I was working at a radio station in Michigan. And my buddy Ben Holden and Ben does a lot of play-by-play for, ESPN and whatnot. He's a huge hockey guy, does basketball, does football. And Ben and I were going to go down to the Palace of Auburn Hills, which I don't think is standing anymore, where the Pistons used to play.
Cool place to watch a game.
And we were going to the NCAA tournament, and it was great. And that was the year when Kevin Pittsnoggle played for West Virginia. That was about 15 years ago.
There's a name from the past. Yeah.
And so we go down there, and I've got Iowa in the Final Four. All right? And they're playing Northwestern State. I'm like, who cares? I was sitting baseline on the shot that Northwestern State hit to beat Iowa, the 15-2 upset. At the buzzer, I was watching the ball go in. And this is back to when I smoked cigarettes. I don't anymore, but we went out, and he looked at me. He's like, "You gonna be okay?" Because it was the first game of the day. It was the only game being played at that time, or the first game to tip off. It was the first game to go final. I was smoking a cigarette. We're in the smoking area outside at the Palace, and I grabbed my bracket out of my pocket. I lit a cigarette. And then I lit my bracket on fire. And I said, well, I'm done. I just lost Iowa, a Final Four team, a 2 seed, gone. I'm like, son of a bee. Done. Totally done.
Yeah. Which brings us to this.
Yeah.
The new bracketology is out from ESPN.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you see? They've got Iowa. ESPN's Joe Lunardi has Iowa as a 2 seed. That's how impressive that win was last night for Joe Lunardi to put Iowa as a 2.
If you're an Iowa player, they've been getting, face it, the fans, the radio pundits like Mike Wickett have been slapping him around a little bit.
I've just been wanting him to prove it.
But still, that's slapping him around a little bit. And you've got the man, Luka Garza. He probably said, "Give me the rock."
Yeah.
And that's what they did last night. And I think if they get, you said it before, if they get the ball into the man's hands, you don't want anybody else to have it at that time. I really believe that they could probably be as high as a 2 seed, but they like you said a little bit ago, they've got to get those 2 wins in a row. I think get those wins that they were looking at. Penn State, you got to win that. You got to take care of business.
If you take care of Penn State and you somehow split, go to Columbus and beat Ohio State, lose in Ann Arbor to Michigan, whatever, either one's respectable. Somehow split and win a game or two in the Big Ten tournament, that's a 2 seed resume.
Yeah, true.
That's a 2 seed resume. If they can get to the Big Ten final, I mean, I think Michigan right now, Michigan and Ohio State play Sunday. I don't think either one of them falls off the 1 line or too far off the 1 line should they lose, especially if it's Michigan.
Right.
But I mean, I think you might get. Can you get 2 Big Ten teams as 1 seeds in the NCAA tournament? I mean, you can get a couple. You might get a 1, a 2, and a 3 out of Michigan, Ohio State, and Iowa, all legit at least 3, maybe 2, maybe 1 seeds, depending on how everybody does when they play in the Big Ten tournament.
Right.
So,
we definitely have 2 1 seed possibilities in the Big Ten. They're just monsters this year.
If Iowa runs the table, they have 6 losses already. I don't know if you can have a 6-loss 1 seed, but you can make an argument if Iowa beats Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, runs a Big Ten tournament, and maybe they have to beat Michigan twice. I don't know.
And we're expecting a lot there. Looking at who they have coming up there, you just listed the mainstays of the Big Ten there. That's asking Iowa a lot. Not saying they can't do it.
They haven't. They haven't beat.
Bars high.
They haven't beat a big boy yet. They haven't beat a big boy yet in the Big Ten. They haven't played Michigan, and they haven't beat Illinois. They haven't beat Ohio State. Yeah. So this is a big week. The other thing in Joe Lunardi's bracketology, Drake is a 6 seed. I'm sorry, Drake is an 11 seed playing a 6 seed in Virginia Tech in their latest version of the bracket. And, I know we spent a lot of time on Iowa.
Yeah, we do. But that's okay.
But Drake is worthy of a long conversation, too, because Drake, who was 17-0, lost game 18, won game 19, and lost their leading scorer.
Yes.
What an up and down week and a half for the Drake Bulldogs. But Drake right now is one of those teams that cannot lose before the Missouri Valley Conference Tournament. And I love that they call it Arch Badness down in St. Louis. I think it's a cool nickname.
Yeah.
But
I just think that that the Loyola game impressed me, even though it was choppy. You had sent me a text saying it was kind of sloppy. But when you lose your leading scorer like that, and you're just coming off of getting basically waxed by that same team, and you answer with tight defense, some sloppy play, obviously. But
what an ugly basketball game to watch.
Sure
that game sucked. If you're in it for the purest basketball form, that second game against Loyola was terrible.
A win's a win, Mike.
That's going to be the name of your podcast. A win is a win with JD Justice.
I'm a Viking fan. Come on.
You take your small victories when you can get them.
You got that right. Listen, I'm a big fan of the Bulldogs right now. I really would love to see them. Do you feel they've got to win out to get the best placement? They got to win out.
They have to win out until the Missouri Valley Conference Tournament. I think if they can get through the next 4, it's 2 with Evansville and 2 with Bradley.
Right.
That'll get them to 24 wins. They'll be 24-2 going into the conference tournament. They needed that win against Loyola. Had they lost that game against Loyola,
well, that would have been a bad loss.
They would have because they wouldn't have 0 other resume building wins in the regular season in front of them. They beat Northern Iowa. Northern Iowa's trash. They're proud. Hopefully, they sweep Evansville and Bradley. Both teams are trash. And if they, adding those 4 wins without beating Loyola does nothing for your resume. So they needed to get a win over a top 25 team, a good Loyola team, because I think without their leading scorer, they lost Shanquan Hemphill until maybe
tournament time,
maybe the first week of the big dance.
Yeah.
You got to hope for Drake's sake they play Friday and not Thursday because they get an extra day for Tank.
Right.
But Drake, if they can, because I don't think they can win the conference tournament without Hemphill. They struggle to score at times. I mean, without that dude who averages 19 a game, that offense looks pretty stagnant. They might have a guy here or there that can step up, but they don't have a guy who can carry the team and get you 20 if you need 20 like Hemphill.
That was like the best team effort I've seen in quite a while from a team.
And they mustered 51 points.
I know.
They scored 51 points in the best team effort that you've ever seen or that you saw this year out of Drake.
I know. But think of the defensive performance. The defensive performance, Wickett. Come on. They've got what Iowa kind of lacks. Up until the past few games, Iowa proved themselves defensively, but Drake does have that defense, which, you kind of see lacking these days. And I think that's what's going to carry them to get their start, to get Hemphill back. I think that's what's got to carry them.
What I like about Drake before the injury, and I mean this, and that's why people were getting a little, their record was so good and whatnot, and people were getting high on Drake. Unlike a lot of teams in college basketball that if they don't hit threes, they don't win. Now, Drake still enjoys shooting threes. I think they were 4 for 30 a couple of games ago in a game they won. I think it was one of their first games back after they were off for COVID.
Right.
But Drake beats you multiple ways. They go to the rack. They've got the big man, the freshman, whose name escapes me right now. They've got a big man down low. Drake is a team that can, if they're not hitting from outside, they can get up and down the floor. They got guys who can hit mid-range jumpers. Hemphill can get you 20 when he's healthy. Yesufu just had a big night the other night. Like, Drake is not one of those teams that can't do anything besides shoot the three. And that, to me, is what might keep them alive a little longer in the NCAA tournament. I don't look at that team, even with Hemphill, and say, that's the darling of the tournament. That's a Final Four run. That's George Mason. That's Butler. I don't see that.
No.
But I see a team that could pull an upset Their bracketology projected to be an 11 seed against Virginia Tech, a 6 seed. I can see that upset. Buzz Williams always coaches. Is Buzz still at Vodtech? I don't even know if Buzz is still at Vodtech. Buzz might be elsewhere. Check that. But that's a matchup they can win. I haven't watched Virginia Tech play at all this year. Obviously, I don't remember who their head coach is. But I do think that Drake can win a game in the NCAA tournament if they get their guy back. If they don't get their guy back and they still get an at-large bid, don't make plans for the weekend, Coach DeVries.
We've said this before. I said it before. I know you've said it before. The matchups is what's going to tell whether you're going to be able to upset some teams or not. Sure. And I like Drake's chances of advancing a couple of games in the tournament, if not further, because I like their matchups ability. Their team as a whole matches up well against other teams. Now, it all depends on who they're playing, of course, like I said, but that to me is like the most important part. So, yeah, if they can get their leading scorer back, I think Drake's got a really good shot at doing something decent in the NCAA tournament. I'm all about it. I'm all about an Iowa team being a Cinderella team. I really am. But then are they really a Cinderella team or are they just that good?
If they're an at-large bid out of the Missouri Valley Conference and they get on and they go to the Sweet 16, that's a Cinderella team. I mean, Loyola, remember with what was the nun's name? Remember they had her courtside Sister Jean. Sister Jean and Loyola went to the Final Four a couple of years ago. That's a Cinderella run. Anybody out of the Missouri Valley Conference, especially if you get an at-large bid, but anybody out of the Missouri Valley Conference that can get to the Sweet 16 or beyond, that's Cinderella.
There you go, Coach Dennis. You need to find that nun, that magic nun for you.
She can't travel. She's like 900 years old and COVID. Like, that woman cannot travel.
Right. All right. With that being said, I read your blog. I know a lot of you have read Mike's blog.
Please do. ESPNDesMoines.com. Click on Wickett's World. I'm a blogger now.
Yes, and does a great job at it, too. I'm at the meat counter today at the grocery store. Okay. There's a guy. He's decked out in his Cyclones garb.
Man.
All right.
All right.
And I'm thinking, I'm going to prime the pump here. I'm going to talk to a big Cyclone fan and see what they think about the situation for them.
Okay.
You know what he says to me? He stops, he looks at me and he goes, Steve Prohm is a really nice guy.
Of course he did. Of course he did.
And I read your blog and I laughed so hard because I said, there it is.
I just want to read you a line from the blog I put up 2 days ago. I did a hot take on Iowa, or a take on Iowa, a take on Drake, and a take on Iowa State. And here's how I started it. Everyone starts the conversation the same way. Steve Prohm is a nice guy, but. And your dude at the meat counter did that?
He did that. He did it.
Because Steve Prohm is a nice guy, right? Prohm's a nice dude. He's a nice guy. He's a great guy. He's also 18-48 in the last 4 years in the Big 12.
And that's how many years before COVID? 3 years before COVID?
Yeah, that was 2017.
Yeah. So if you think about this for a minute, because I asked him too, I said, do you want to give him another chance because of what's been going on nationally or worldwide with COVID and all of that? And he did shake his head. And then he goes, golly, he's a nice guy, but I think we need to move on.
He's had one winning season in the last 4 years.
And that was with Hoiberg's guys.
Sort of, yes. Sort of yes, and sort of. The year after Hoiberg left, they went to the Sweet 16. He won 20 games a couple of years ago. They went down to Kansas City, and they won they took Hilton South, and they went down to Kansas City, and they won the Big 12 tournament. Right. But that was his only winning season in the last 4. I'm sure he's a nice dude, but this year they are 0-12 in the Big 12.
Okay.
They are 2-15 on the year. And someone's going to say, oh, well, guys left, Halliburton left, COVID. Everybody in college basketball is dealing with COVID-19 this year.
Yes, they are.
Some are more affected than others. You got Michigan, the number 3 team in the country. Michigan came back after a 3-week hiatus, had a terrible first half against Wisconsin, and then came roaring back and won in Madison.
Right.
That's a team that didn't let COVID destroy their year, right?
Right.
That's how you have to do it. Iowa State, whether COVID affected them or not, and they were off for a time, it was in January or February, they were off for a time, but that had nothing to do with the fact that this team is not that good. This team has no effort. They're getting blown out by Texas Tech and Oklahoma State. They got Oklahoma coming to Ames this week, and then next week it's Baylor. Like number 2 in the country, Baylor is coming. Again, I'm sure he's a nice guy, JD. I'm sure he's a real nice guy.
You and I are nice guys, but we both have lost jobs, even though we were nice guys, because either A, we weren't producing, or B, there was cutbacks, right?
I'm also not a very good basketball coach, but doesn't mean
that's right. I think you'd be a great water boy, Wick.
I've been told that before. I've been told that before.
So this gentleman also said that he felt that he said, with that being said, he goes, if you were a Big Ten program and the past 4 years you had that record, would you be at that job?
A Big 12
and I said, absolutely not. You'd have been gone after 3 years or 2 years.
The writing is kind of on the wall. And the problem is, too, for Prohm, he's always going to be living in Fred Hoiberg's shadow.
Yeah.
Because of the success that Hoiberg had. I'll pull up his record real quick. The success that Fred Hoiberg had when he was at Iowa State. I mean, arguably, think of a greater Cyclone ever. I mean, who knows what Matt Campbell's going to do?
Right.
But he's raised the bar for the football program. But name a more important, successful, beloved Cyclone ever than Fred Hoiberg? How'd you like to take over for a guy who was 115 and 56?
Right.
You know what I mean? Now,
thank you.
Now, there were times Hoiberg's team should have done more than they actually did. I also have burned a bracket on the first day of the tournament because of Iowa State, because of Hoiberg's teams getting knocked out on day one. But that's another story. I wasn't at that game like I was at the Northwestern State upset. The game, the problem for Prohm is he's taken over for Hoiberg, and the bar is here.
Right.
And it's not like he's been mediocre. I mean, his record is mediocre. He's about 6 games over 500, but they're not getting better. As a matter of fact, 3 of the last 4 years have been losing seasons. I would argue that they're getting worse.
It's spiraled downhill. And for a program that was built as high as it was, that's sad. And that's unacceptable. I'm sorry.
And I don't know who you get. I don't know who you get to replace him.
Okay, I got a name for you. All right.
Is it Fred Hoiberg?
Well, that too. Yes. Can we get Fred back? Because he's not doing very well in Nebraska, right?
Can anybody do well at Nebraska? I mean, that's the Rutgers of the West. All right, that's a really tough place to win hoops wise.
I give you that. So here's a name, a gentleman. I'm going to give him creds. His name is Kirk. Kirk works with me during the day, and he said to me, he goes, "How about this guy, Jeff Hornacek?"
What's Hornacek doing?
He is coaching somewhere down south right now, but I bet you anything he'd come back to be a Cyclone.
Sure, absolutely. If he's got, I mean, I don't know what his. Let me see if I can find Jeff Hornacek's coaching record right now because I have no idea where he is.
Yeah. I didn't look that up. I should have done that. I was trying to do my homework ahead of time. But
that would have been show prep, and we listen.
Yeah. We prep to a point.
Jeff Hornacek. Let's see here. Where is Jeff Hornacek? He's an assistant for the Rockets.
Okay. So
he's just been an NBA assistant, a career NBA assistant. He was with the Jazz, obviously. The Suns, the Knicks, the Rockets now. So
is he just an NBA guy and maybe not a good college coach?
Well, I mean, say that about Juwan Howard. Juwan Howard was nothing but a Heat's assistant and has the number 3 team in the nation right now and has the number 1 recruiting class in the country. Now, Juwan Howard and Jeff Hornacek are like completely opposite people, but still, in terms of resume, would he come back? Does he want to recruit? He's only like 56. He's not like he's all that old either.
And here's the thing. What kid doesn't want to play for a former NBA All-Star who knows what the NBA currently is looking for out of a player and can get out of you what you need to do to get to the next level?
The second half of what you said interests me more than Jeff Hornacek, the All-Star. Walk down Ingersoll tonight and find a kid with a basketball, all right? Walk up and down somewhere around your apartment and ask a kid, hey, do you know who Jeff Hornacek is? 15-year-old kids have no idea who Jeff Hornacek is, what he did for a living, and how he excelled at it in the 1980s. JD, we are old, all right? These kids don't care about Jeff Hornacek.
They didn't know who Fred Hoiberg was.
Yeah, but Iowa kid, do you think Iowa kids know who Jeff Hornacek is the way they knew about Fred Hoiberg?
No.
The
Hoiberg
distance,
was the mayor.
And Hoiberg was young.
Yes,
you know,
he was.
When Hoiberg started, he was in his 30s. I have to believe, or early 40s. Hornacek's 56. All right, ain't no way anybody knows who Jeff Hornacek is. But what you said, the other part is he's got all of the cred of being an assistant coach with the Rockets and all the other teams that I listed off. So
Absolutely.
That is reason to say yes. That's a reason to say yes.
And right now, they need somebody to resurrect the program because it is spiraling way too low.
It feels like it's getting very, very bad, and they're a long way from competing.
If I hear that Steve Prohm is a great recruiter one more time, I'm going to explode. If you're a great recruiter, how come these kids aren't staying on your team and winning for you? Because they're obviously not too interested in playing for you.
Unless you recruit really, really, really good kids and the NBA wants them and they get – I mean, Tyrese Halliburton's your prime example.
Right.
A lot of people said he was too skinny to play in the Big 12. A lot of people said he was too skinny to go pro, that he shouldn't have done it. And he is a contender for Rookie of the Year right now. You know who's not watching him? Most people, because he's in Sacramento. But
Right.
Halliburton's having a great year, averaging like 11, 6, and 6 for a terrible Kings team. So, I mean, but again, everybody has guys that leave, especially guys that leave that you're like, that guy's leaving? I don't think that guy should leave. But everybody has guys who leave. So I don't take that as an excuse. Your results are what your results are, and he's been horrible for most of the last 4 years.
Yeah. So I think it's pretty much a team consensus here on Wickett's World that we think Steve, even though he's a nice guy. And I will back that up. I think he's fabulous. He's a great guy. And I wish nothing but the best success for him. I wish it was here in Iowa State. But I think that it's probably, not going to happen.
No, I do not see. No, it's not. Are we good with hoops? Is that?
I think we're good with hoops. I think we covered everything. I'm really into the NFL right now with free agency right there on us. The NFL draft around the corner. I got to ask you something.
Yeah. We
all saw the big trade. We all saw the big trade, Wentz going to Indianapolis.
The only team seemingly interested was bidding against itself to bring in Carson Wentz. I just read the report. The Bears didn't even make an offer. Made no offer to bring in Carson Wentz. Go ahead.
I can't believe they want Trubisky over Carson Wentz. But
we'll talk about Trubisky in a second. Go ahead.
All right. But I want to get you on. I'm going to get you on your point. Okay. Wentz goes to Indy. We all know what Indy gave up for him. I think they got the better end of the deal because I think Wentz is going to have a better offensive line. He's going to be maybe on the field a lot more than he was with Philadelphia. I think he's soured right now. I saw this guy play in the FCS championship against Illinois State, where I used to work. I went down there, and this kid threw all over the Redbirds. And it was he's just an amazing talent. I think he's got a good offensive line. He's got all those weapons. I think he's got the better end of this deal more than anybody.
It made more sense for him to go to Indianapolis than any other team because he gets to hook back up with Frank Reich, who was his offensive coordinator when he was a near MVP before he blew out his knee. And then Nick Foles took over and won a Super Bowl. So it makes a ton of sense. The Eagles are a mess. The Eagles are an absolute disaster. I mean, they were banking on Carson. Think about this. Go back a year. They're banking on Carson Wentz and Deshaun Jackson. and Alshon Jeffrey. They draft some kid named Rager, nobody ever heard of, and a couple of the dude the Lions cut stepped up and had just a monster year. But the Eagles are an absolute mess. You have to sometimes rip that Band-Aid off or clear out the crap and clear out the clutter before you see what a product is that you actually have. And Carson Wentz somehow has been broken but needs to be repaired.
Yeah.
And you have to and Doug Peterson wasn't going to do it, and we know that split didn't work.
No, not at all.
But he goes to Indy to hook back up with Frank Reich. You mentioned the offensive line. It's a good offensive line they have down there, and they've got young weapons. They don't have experienced weapons. I think Pittman is a star in the making, but what they have that for whatever reason Doug Peterson never relied on, even though he had a tremendous running back in Miles Sanders, Indy's got a great running game, a dominant running game. Jonathan Taylor is going to be, if you're a fantasy nerd like I am, Jonathan Taylor is a top 10, top 5 pick next year in fantasy drafts because he, along with the other two, maybe because they had Phil Rivers, but that running attack was so good, so depended on, and I think Carson Wentz going there with a coach who will actually give the ball to the running backs. You know, if I'm Jonathan Taylor and the other dudes that are there, it's like feed all three, keep all three fresh, and then let Carson Wentz throw the football. He can't be this bad, can he? He can't be
he's not.
He can't be that bad.
He's not.
As he showed the last year and a half, 2 years in Philadelphia.
He felt that there was no confidence in him from the leadership. And you and I both know if leadership ain't into you, you're not into yourself. And then you're feeling down on yourself. You're trying to force things and trying to make something of nothing. And that's exactly what he had in Philadelphia. And I think I applaud the Colts for going after this guy. I am happy to see Carson get another chance because I think he's a great guy. There we go to that Steve Prohm reference again. He's a nice guy.
Really nice guy. Yeah, but do you think Wentz? The over/under I saw was 4,000 yards, 25 touchdowns, 11 and a half interceptions. 4,000 yards over/under.
Over.
I'm going to go under, but not because he can't. It's because of the offense. 25 touchdowns, over or under?
Under. And I just remembered you saying, too, they've got a good running game. So if they're splitting that running game, then that's going to make your numbers go down. But does it matter? No.
Philly has a great set of running backs. Doug Peterson, quit using them. I mean, Miles Sanders, when he was healthy, was one of the best running backs in football. And they got Boston Scott, a change of pace guy, little scat back coming out. Like they have, and Corey Clement's there too. They have a good set of running backs. The difference is Frank Reich will use those sets or that set of running backs. I think that benefits Carson Wentz. I'm going to take the under 4,000. I'm going to take the under 25 touchdowns, barely, but I'm going to take over 11 interceptions. I still have to see Carson. I mean, that's 3 games of a couple of picks, and all of a sudden he's at 6, he's at 7, with 7 games to go. Wentz is still. I have to see and believe that Wentz is the MVP from 2017 as opposed to the craptastic version of Carson Wentz we saw this year.
Nick Otis chiming in on the chat line, and he says, if Wentz plays more than 70% of the snaps, then the Eagles get a first. First and a second pick for Wentz is a win for the Eagles.
Sure it is.
And then Nick says over in INTs.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not a big Philly fan. I never have been. I think.
Are you a Carson Wentz apologist? Are you a small school apologist? Is that what this is?
Yeah, kind of. I just like the guy. He was a cool guy. And one of my good friends' brother was his head coach at North Dakota State.
Oh, how about that?
So there's a connection there, and they were upset for him. So when you talk to them, those guys were like, he's an all-pro. But he's not getting a chance. Well, we'll find out. He's got to prove it now.
Yeah.
So I guess.
And by the way, all of a sudden, once the Jaguars draft Trevor Lawrence, between Tennessee and Jacksonville and now Indianapolis and Houston, and who knows what's going to happen with Houston, but those other 3, that NFC South, or AFC South, excuse me, the AFC South just got a little more interesting over the next 3 to 5 years because I think Trevor Lawrence is an absolute stud. If Wentz turns it around, Indy's built to win right now.
Yes.
We already know what Tennessee is. Give the ball to Derrick Henry and get the heck out of the way. If they can improve on defense and they can re-sign a wide receiver, Tennessee's going to be a player again contending in the AFC. Houston, stupid franchise. Just a dumb franchise.
I've never come across anything more dumb than them right now. I look at the things they've done in the past year. They've done nothing but alienate J.J. Watt, a Hall of Famer. You've alienated your franchise player. And you're alienating your up-and-coming player in Deshaun Watson.
You have a top 5 quarterback, and you don't want him. You have a top 5. Listen, it's Mahomes, it's Rodgers, it's Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
That's the top 3 quarterbacks in the National Football League. Josh Allen's in that conversation. I know Bills Mafia is going to come after me if I don't say something about Josh Allen, but it's Mahomes, Rodgers, Deshaun Watson. And I would make the argument, and you know what a big Green Bay Packers fan I am.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, let me just pull this. My studio's
built. We have to see this.
Well,
do we really have to see this?
My Charles Woodson jersey right here.
Oh,
my studio's built into my closet.
Yeah.
So, I would argue, and maybe this is a topic for another day, but I would argue that if I were the Green Bay Packers and Houston said Rodgers for Watson straight up, or Rodgers and Jordan Love for Deshaun Watson straight up, I make that deal in a heartbeat because I get a top 5 quarterback for the next 10 years. I love Aaron Rodgers. It's probably the next jersey that I buy, and I don't buy a lot of jerseys.
Well, you got to get it to when it's on its price decline.
Yeah, right.
He's getting close to where he's almost done. So
price is
kind of like buying the Favre jersey. I've got a Viking Favre jersey.
Oh, shut up. Gross.
I got that for free.
You got ripped
off.
So
my question. Okay, my question to you, Mike Wickett.
Yeah.
Who in this NFL free agency carousel of quarterbacks is next to go? Deshaun Watson. Okay, I've got a couple.
You can list Watson as a free agent. I understand. I know what you mean. The next the acquired quarterbacks.
Right. Aaron Rodgers.
Rodgers is not a free agent.
Doesn't matter. They could still trade him.
You're not. No. See, this is worse than your Favre jersey comment. That's just not happening.
I didn't think so either, but you got to throw it out there because it's being talked about.
Nope. I'm squashing that talk right now.
All right.
That is a rule on the program.
We do not want to see. We don't want to see a soiled Mike.
Unless it's my deal of Rodgers and Love for Deshaun Watson, that deal's off the table. Rodgers is the MVP, stays in Titletown.
All right. There is a ton of talk to the north of us. Kirk Cousins.
They have to trade him.
Yeah.
Who wants to pay $84 million to Kirk Cousins fully guaranteed? Nobody wants to do that.
No.
I mean, that is his numbers bear out that he's not terrible.
He's actually okay.
He's all right. He's all right.
Here's the example. All right.
Yeah.
Your level of NFL quarterback. There's 3 levels, in my opinion. You've got a Jordan Love right now, or a Christian Ponder. Okay. All right.
The unproven garbage.
Yeah. The guy can hand the ball off. He can make the short pass, but you can't depend on him.
I did not think we'd hear Christian Ponder's name today.
There you go. Or you've got the Kirk Cousins.
That's the middle tier. Cousins is a mid-tier quarterback.
Pretty darn good NFL quarterback. All right?
Not going to win you a ton of games, but not going to lose you a ton of games.
Right. The next tier is the Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
That's Aaron Rodgers.
That's Rodgers, Mahomes. That's the elite of the elite.
Right. So I might add you. I'm going to add this. If you are Houston and you say, I'll tell you what, we'll take your Kirk Cousins. He's a proven player.
They don't have any money to pay Cousins. Oh, they don't have the money to pay Watson either.
Probably not. I would do that straight up in a heartbeat too. for Minnesota. But I'm a Kirk Cousins. I like him.
Listen,
I think he can't go wrong. He played very well last year.
Kirk Cousins, before the trade of Stafford to the LA Rams, Kirk Cousins was the third best quarterback in the NFC North.
Yeah.
He's currently the second best quarterback in the NFC North. I put him ahead of Goff and obviously Trubisky and Foles and whatever seeps out of Chicago, whatever the Bears decide to do. If you're Houston and you are trading, I'm gonna squash your deal, because if you're Houston and you're dumb enough to trade a top 3 quarterback in the NFL, you are going full rebuild. You are going to draft Justin Fields, or you are going to draft the kid from BYU, or you're going to take a chance on the kid from North Dakota being the next great small school quarterback. If you're going to trade away Deshaun Watson, you're going full-on rebuild, because they're losing J.J. Watt, as you mentioned. Who knows what Will Fuller's status is going to be. David Johnson is a worthless old man running back. Like, if you're Houston, you're in full rebuild mode. You should probably be in full rebuild mode anyway, but if you get rid of Deshaun Watson, you're getting picks back. You're going young. You're not ready to win right now. Not that Cousins is a guy that is ready to win right now, but he's not a 5-year plan. He's not a 10-year plan. You know what I mean?
No.
So
I don't know. I think Minnesota should keep on keeping on and hang in there with him. I think if they rebuild their defense, they got nothing to worry about. But the rumor today was that Denver Broncos wants Kirk Cousins.
Are they going to give up Drew Lock for him, or is it picks or any? Is it just?
I don't know.
Listen, I like Kirk Cousins in the NFC North because I get to laugh at Kirk Cousins when he plays the Packers twice a year. Like, that's
you like seeing his end zone dances. That's what you like.
I just love going. I love when the Packers play the Vikings. It's one of my favorite weeks in the entire year. I love Viking week for Green Bay.
Yeah, I love it too. I mean, really, I do. So that was my question. Who's next?
Sam Darnold will be next. I think Sam Darnold's done in New York. I think they're going to go with one of those other quarterbacks that I mentioned, unless they can get Deshaun Watson. They got a new head coach up there. I was listening to a national show on 1350, and they were talking about how Darnold hasn't had any weapons. That's not true. Darnold hasn't been able to stay healthy, and his offensive line is absolutely trash. Plus, he had Adam Gase as a head coach. Adam Gase had Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill was ass when he was in Miami. He gets traded to Tennessee. He's a Pro Bowler. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the AFC. Adam Gase absolutely ruins talent. And I think Darnold can still play in this league. I think he's a good quarterback that can still play in this league if he has the right coach. Jamison Crowder catches 10 balls a game from Darnold. They drafted the kid Mims from Baylor. That's not a bad combination that they have right now. So I'm not done on Darnold, but I think the Jets may be. So I think he's probably the next to go. They may go young. They may bring in Deshaun Watson. That one's still up in the air.
All right. So Sam Darnold is your pick that goes next in this carousel.
Yeah, I think so. And there's all of this is ridiculous. And I know we're kind of running out of time here, but all of this is ridiculous in the offseason. And maybe we talk about this next Friday when we're back in studio. The NFL is becoming, and maybe you like this, maybe you don't, the NFL is becoming like the NBA. Because when you are when you're drafted by a team, you play out your contract and then you figure it out. The NFL now, looking at Deshaun Watson, players have so much more power than they used to have. I'm not happy. I don't like the direction of the team. I don't like the coach. I don't like the GM. Trade me. Then they get to Twitter. Then it becomes public. I mean, that happens with LeBron. That happens with James Harden. Currently, that's happening with Andre Drummond and Blake Griffin in the NBA. And they're being benched until they can figure out their next move. The NFL's trending that way. You're seeing all kinds of guys talk about how they're upset and they want to think about their future, whether it was Aaron Rodgers' comments right after the loss or Russell Wilson a week ago or whomever. It's definitely a trend we're seeing in the NFL.
So we had a question on the chat.
Yeah.
Nick wants to know, does Russell Wilson get traded or do they settle that problem?
Settle it. You settle that problem.
He's not going anywhere.
You settle that problem. You find offensive line help for Seattle. Second half of the season last year, Seattle's defense wasn't historically bad. They've got maybe the best receiver in football in DK Metcalf. They've got Lockett on the other side. When Chris Carson's healthy, he's a top 10 back. I mean, they've got weapons for Russell Wilson. Their offensive line is trash. And this is not only on the offensive line. Russ gets hit a lot. But Russ holds on to the ball. Russ buys time like Aaron Rodgers, like Ben Roethlisberger, extend play. If Russ quick threw the ball, Russ wouldn't get hit so bad. If Russ didn't take off and use his legs, Russ wouldn't get hit so bad. But he also wouldn't be Russell Wilson.
Right.
That's what makes Russell Wilson so special and why I hate him, is because he's so good.
You hate playing against him. He finds a way. He's got that clutch performance.
It's voodoo magic.
Yeah,
it's Russell Wilson voodoo magic. And I know one more quarterback to talk about here. He said he was going to take less money. If you're the Steelers, what do you do with Ben Roethlisberger? Like, what can you possibly do with that guy coming off that year and a diminishing skill set? His last game, he threw all those interceptions, but he still threw for 499 yards. I don't know what Pittsburgh is going to do at the QB spot, because his paycheck is in the 40s. He said he's going to take a pay cut to keep playing with Pittsburgh. How much of a pay cut will you take if you're Ben Roethlisberger to give your team a chance? Because the Packers have about $3.5 million in cap, and they're going after J.J. Watt. Everybody's talking about the Steelers wanting J.J. Watt. J.J. Watt's not the missing piece in Pittsburgh. J.J. Watt is the missing piece in Green Bay if he stays healthy. The problem for Pittsburgh isn't on defense. The problem for Pittsburgh is their quarterback and their offensive scheme, where they, for whatever reason, don't like to run the ball, which has to make Steelers fans upset. But it'll be interesting to see what they do at their quarterback spot, how much of a restructuring, a pay cut Roethlisberger takes. Mason Rudolph's not the answer. But what is the answer in Pittsburgh?
Drafting a new quarterback and let him sit under Ben for another year, maybe two, if Ben's got that.
Can you afford that, though? Can you afford? I mean, does Pittsburgh, and they have to add, I mean, Pittsburgh was 11-0 last year and then crapped the bed the rest of the way and got upset by Baker Mayfield and the Browns.
Yeah.
Can you afford to go to war with Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry in Tennessee and all these other teams? And don't forget about the Chargers with Herbert. That dude's coming too.
He's good.
Is Pittsburgh equipped to handle that battle in the AFC with all of those guys if their quarterback is Ben Roethlisberger? I don't know, man. I don't know. It would be crazy to see like a Deshaun Watson wind up there. Think about that. Think
I don't want him going to Pittsburgh. I'm tired of Pittsburgh.
Keep him in the AFC.
Keep him in the AFC. Keep him out of the NFC.
I don't want.
Unless he's playing for the Vikings.
Or maybe Deshaun Watson to the Saints.
Oh, gosh.
I mean, that makes a ton of sense.
It does.
It makes a ton of sense.
Throwing it out. Reckless stuff.
Hey, thanks to everybody for watching. We had a really good time. JD, this was, success number one. We got it on the air. We stayed on the air. And if you missed any of it, you want to listen again, ESPNDesMoines.com. I'll have the podcast up coming up in just a bit. I think my in-laws just showed up at my house, so I think I have to go say hello.
You better do that. And don't forget, that's Dad. Dad needs his ice cream.
Yeah, Dad's in Michigan. I'm here in Des Moines, so
you can't help him.
Maybe I can Instacart him some ice cream or some Ben and Jerry's or something.
But I will say that your wife did chime in there in our conversation, and she said that he did get his gift and that he opened it.
Oh, good. Okay,
got it. So there you go.
It's a blanket, a huge fluffy blanket with the grandkids, all three grandkids.
Oh,
on it.
Cool. I love that.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, I'm not going to get him a tie. I'm sick of getting gift cards for everybody. I mean, with COVID, I didn't buy any gifts.
You're making me mushy with that. You're making me feel mushy all over with that.
That's what we do.
Yes.
We will be back next week. We'll be in studio on 1350 ESPN in Des Moines. We will be live on Facebook. Every show is going to be live on Facebook. It'll look a lot better than this. I hope. I don't think the building is going to lose internet the way I lost internet 1 minute before broadcast. But that being said, if you do want to check this one out, my blog is up. JD's going to start blogging too once he learns how at ESPNDesMoines.com. So, hey, JD, have yourself a great weekend, man.
You too. Say hi to the family.
Will do. Thanks to everybody for listening, for watching. For JD, I'm Mike Wickett. This has been Wickett's World on 1350 ESPN.